Good afternoon. Thank you for spending time this Saturday to be here for this presentation on Masonic music. I'm honored and flattered that you're here. I want to thank the staff at the Masonic Temple for really putting in so much work to organize this speaker series and to invite me here to speak to you today. Without further ado, my name is Brother Ben Litman. I'm a past master and 32nd degree Mason in the Valley of Philadelphia, which means here in Gothic Hall. So a table of contents, I'm going to talk about a few famous musician Freemasons, some Masonic music, women in Freemasonry, the Masonic nature of music, Masonic core values, and the Masonic symbolism of music. So the Magic Flute is really known as this great promotional piece for Masonic music, composed by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Mozart being one of the most impactful musicians in Freemasonry. He not only convinced his father and Haydn to join, but he promoted it through several pieces of his music. And there's actually a great book on Mozart the Freemason that really dives deeply into his Masonic career. There's Mendelssohn, J.C. Bach, the son of Johann Sebastian Bach, who was known as the great world composer, Irving Berlin, Liszt, Duke Ellington, one of the jazz greats. He was also very active in the Shrine. So is John Philip Sousa, who's an Americana composer, Rick Wakeman, the past master of Chelsea Lodge, and the keyboardist for Yes, and Brad Paisley, country music superstar, who has come when he's been in Philadelphia and visited Masonic Temple here to really see more about Freemasonry in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. And Christian Frederick Martin, the founder of Martin Guitars. So here's a couple of quotes. One from Duke Ellington talking about really something that's special, that problems are a chance to improve yourself, always being quiet but working towards solutions. And that kind of reflects Masonic values, which we'll get into later. And then talking about Mel Blanc, the voice of so many of our childhoods. He's the voice of the Looney Tunes and so many great characters, that he talked about how De Molay and Freemasonry really helped him stay on a right path when he could have fallen into so many different pitfalls throughout his life. And Brad Paisley, who does so much with the Shrine and Scotch Rite to really promote Freemasonry and to do a lot of charitable outreach, which is something that's really important to him, is to have that kind of character. And if you go to Martin Guitars factory in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, it's a beautiful facility, beautiful tour, so much great history to see there. They have, as soon as you walk into the building, his Masonic apron and Master Mason's certificate, and a little post that's written up about his Masonic experience in getting into Freemasonry. So it's really special that this massive international guitar company is so proud of their founder's Masonic affiliation. And another proud Mason is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And Mozart, in one source I saw, he wrote a Masonic cantata specifically for the work. And Mozart was very, very well known for being a slacker, doing things at the last minute, and really composing things right on the spot. And he had this great quote in Latin. And I'm not a Latin scholar by any means, but in translating it, it was, "Let us rejoice while we are young, after maturity, and in troublesome old age, the earth will have us." We're talking about enjoying life while we're here, while we're on this level of time. And that different Masonic pieces reflect different events that happen in life. The opening of a lodge, the closing of a lodge. There are so many songs about the Blue Lodge degrees, the Entered Apprentice Mason, the Fellowcraft Mason, the Master Mason, and then the York Great Bodies, the Chapter, Council, Commandery, really a lot of music written about those bodies. There's specific pieces written for Grand Lodge officers, so that one that was really interesting was for the Deputy Grand Master. There was a piece about that position in particular. And also talking about candidates, songs about candidates written by some poets who composed these lyrics, plus rejected candidates. And a lot of this was compiled from tavern music or music that was written specifically for the work. There wasn't really a lot of dates in some of these in the compilation with W.S. Barlow. But they also talk about installations of officers, funeral services, burial services, and then the burial itself and talking about missing this person, mourning this person, and that the vacant chair was one that was really impactful. Is that we've all been there, and Masonry is no different than life in this way. Is that we've lost someone and we see a chair, we see where they sat, we see where they've done things, where we saw home cooked meals in this kitchen by someone and now they're not there, and that loss, that vacancy, that absence was very heartfelt. And they also talk about consecration of a lodge, grand lodge, different buildings, dedications, anniversaries, go a little too fast, cornerstones, enjoying going out to lodge, enjoying the evening, going out, doing something, and that life can be hard. There's a lot of ups and downs, but this is something that brings joy and happiness. And they talk about using popular tunes. So a lot of times it would be a song that was popular at that time. One of which that I saw was Greensleeves for Christmas, and taking that tune and that melody and then putting it with Masonic lyrics. And they did this with so many different songs. So it's almost like imagining what the latest Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift song coming out and trying to do something with that tune. And they did a lot of instrumentals with Masonic intent in mind for entering a room, having that waiting period before a meeting starts, instead of silence and just everyone just kind of waiting for it to begin. And then for special social events, one in particular was operas, cantatas, and oratorios compositions. These were really long pieces, and oratorio is almost like a small opera. And they did one that was performed for the benefit of sick and distressed brethren in Dublin, Ireland. And they composed specific pieces for this event to help these Irish Masons. And they use a lot of different popular music references throughout to try and bring people in to make it feel more comfortable. And then with women in Freemasonry, there was a few lyrics in there that were very different. Like it was different perspectives from 18th and 19th century. And it's very different than what it is today. Talking almost self-indulgently about ladies being enamored with Freemasons and Freemasonry, that Masons expand women's minds. And this one that was really in particular striking was this meek and mild, this conversation where the daughter goes to the mother and is asking about, what do these people do? They're weird, it's quirky, and she didn't like it. And then the mother's explaining, oh, well, your dad's a Mason, so they can't be that bad. And then the daughter's confused. Then dad comes in from the meeting, and dad's talking to the daughter. And then the parents are both talking to the daughter. And then she's just like, all right, if this is what it is, then it is what it is. But it wasn't really nice. And I don't think it does justice to Freemasonry at all. And that even some of them were talking about women hating Freemasonry, considering it a danger. And that in this 1773 piece written for a female role, talking about enlightenment, where there's words in there, quotes, bear our sex no great antipathy, talking about female mysteries and hair and makeup and different clothing versus Masonic mysteries, and that ending with let free sister then accepted be. And it was very striking because it's so different now that you have like youth groups like Job's Daughters, Rainbow Girls, you have Amaranth, you have Eastern Star, and that's just scratching the surface of different ways that women in Freemasonry are so impactful and important. And for me in particular, my grandfather was very active in National Sojourners. He was a past national commander. And my grandmother was a camp follower. So when they did Heroes of 76 events, she would be at the reenactments. She would be actively engaged. And she would go to all these different events with him, and they would do so much together, but that it wasn't something that was considered so separate from their lives. And talking about different separation and the different people that have been misunderstood and misrepresented. In the Buffalo Consistory in New York, some Masons from that valley went and saw the Seneca Native American lodge and see what they did. And this is the way the lodge was set up. You had a table with a light on the outside for visitors. You had a membership door with guards on the other side, on the far left. And then they walk in, there's a table, there's a guard at the table. You have festive kettles for food. You have also on that side, a song holder, a flute. You'd have music in these presentations. You would have someone specifically there to play music during the meeting for ceremonial purposes. And you'd even have the seat of the invoker who would be conveying music just by their voice and their words. And of course, there's a fireplace, there's something for warmth, there's light. And light is extremely important in Freemasonry. And all this together changed the atmosphere of the room. That something as simple as being in a room, lighting a candle, that scent, that light changes the dynamic of the room. It makes the room feel different. Playing music, whether it's happy, it's sad, it's angry, changes the mood and the feel of the room. And that the power of our senses to be immersed in an environment that changes based upon what we're experiencing is so important. And this is where we get into the geometry, the mathematics of music, where everything in our world is set up geometrically, mathematically. Everything has a scientific nature to it. And that even looking at music, and this is essentially a scale of music, where you go from this note to this note and everything in between. And this is set up for Western music because Eastern music has a completely different system than this of tones. But this is organizing tones. And then you can see the mathematical ratios between the tones. You even see in music notes that are meant to divide time, to take time and break it into smaller pieces that will then create the sound. So there's a difference between something as simple as and it changes. And this is where so many different things can happen based off of sound. And even looking at music, we use this circle on the right as a way to look at music in a circular pattern for organizing sound. And that's really what it is. It's organizing sound. And on the left is something I found where there's something called synesthesia, where people see sound as color. And what I really like about that image is that it organizes it in the Fibonacci sequence, in that shape. And that it really does actually work. And that music isn't just something that's circular, where it just go around the wheel and there's a tone. Or as before with the ratios, go up and down a list and there's your tones. It really works in different ways, almost like a calendar and a clock. You can see time as minutes, hours, seconds. You see the calendar as days, months, years, and you can even see it as a day, just as in single days. So a week, organizing that way, it's really very similar in its organization. And that's where this organization comes to core values. And Freemasonry really needs to pay attention to its core values. And this is what's very proudly expressed in several different pieces and compiling it all together into what is it that they're actually trying to profess in these lyrics. And this is what I was able to pull out, is that it's talking about beauty, an appreciation of life, an enjoyment of life, and brotherly love. There's a special bond that Freemasons have, and there's a special bond that those involved in Freemasonry have. And that love and that proud bond is something that we all share and we're all connected. And that even if we're not someone who knows someone directly, as long as you're a Mason, you always have a friend. You will find someone who will help you. And that charity, and this is going back to Brad Paisley and all the work that he's doing, is that this is expectation to help those in need and those less fortunate. And that's where he does so much work with the Scottish Rite. He does work with the Shrine. I'm wearing a tie that helps brethren in the Valley of Philadelphia in need. The valleys get together and they do these blue letter drives to donate, to help those in need. There's so many different ways that charity is given to those who need it. And that charity brings back happiness, it's prosperity, it's joy, and honor. Freemasonry is not a religion. There's no path to salvation. There's no way that you're going to find through Freemasonry worship. It's really a way that brings us all together separately, that hopefully will bring you closer to your religion and worship as your conscience desires. And that this honor is honoring this higher power, whoever that is or whatever that is. And support your fellow human being, yourself, and your country. And this is where it gets a little weird, because country is added in there for a very specific reason. And this one actually had some specific mentions in some Masonic music, was that Queen Elizabeth heard about Freemasons gathering and they had secrets, and she couldn't be able to hold those secrets, have those revealed to her. And that the Grand Master position was never something that she could hold. She could not get that title. So she ordered an armed force to break up their assembly on December 27th, 1561, St. John's Day. And the Grand Master, Sir Thomas Sackville, expressed great pleasure, actually, at their visitation. Surprised by an armed force, he just meets them like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Let me promote Freemasonry, who we are, what we do, and talk about it. And he made the chief men there, Masons on the spot. Masons on site is the real term. And that they gave an honorable report back to the Queen. And that she then, in turn, looked at them as their peculiar men. They cultivate friendship, peace, and arts and sciences, but they don't meddle in the affairs of church and state. And even though we're here at the Masonic Temple in Philadelphia, and City Hall is right over to my right, and that there's close proximity there, there's no meddling, there's no cross between the two where Freemasonry is doing anything to affect how government works. And that Freemasonry was no longer considered a threat to the authority of the British government, and Freemasonry never is really a threat to any government. And then going back to the core values, that's where there's hope. Hope that we don't have any issues like the unfortunate attack and burning of the Grand Lodge of Ireland, where because there was a fear that the Masons there were the reason behind coronavirus and that they were attacked by those who were against the vaccine. And I really do express my sympathies to the Grand Lodge of Ireland. And that with that hope, it's setting goals and following through to obtain those goals. So hoping that this presentation and others help people understand more about Freemasonry and different things that we do. And that there's peace and harmony. And these work together. And harmony is obviously a musical term, but also has its part in peace and working to minimize and avoid conflict. There's a conflict, you sit down, you talk it out, you try to work through it best you can, because we shouldn't have arguments, we shouldn't have these disagreements, we should be able to get along and work together. And that's where we go into strength, that power to resist strain, stress, and temptation, and unity, put aside differences to focus on the commonalities. That you may have disagreements, but you put those aside for unity. For strength, you work to resist anything that could be pulling you away from doing something that's right, that's virtue, that deep understanding, which these words are all around this building. Temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. And that is what virtue is to a Freemason, is deeply understanding each of those principles and each of those ideals. And that going back to light and that candle that changes the room. It's also a core value in wisdom and light. And that for Freemasonry, it's actually a combination of two different words. Freemasonry comes from the Greek, I am in the midst of heaven, and the Egyptian free, sun, child. So Freemasonry really is sons of light. And that really this amalgamation of a word is saying that we are sons of light. We give light, we receive light. Light is our most important feature, our core value. And our greatest lights come from a volume of sacred law. Not a Bible, not a Quran, not a Torah. It comes from whatever the volume of sacred law is that is important to you. Morality. And then an intelligence with the pursuit of knowledge. So really looking to do things to improve yourself, to improve who you are and understanding the world. And that pursuit of truth, and that not expecting to get into pitfalls where you fall off the wrong path. This is where light really plays an important role as a value for Freemasonry. And this extends further with light and charity and outreach. And the Almoners Fund, those blue letters from the Scottish Rite. And then these Almoner funds at the Lodge that support members in need and for relief. And that help for the heroes is especially focused for military families and helping these people who give so much to ourselves, and that we're honoring them. We're posting baby showers for them. We're seeing videos of this where they're getting cartfuls of diapers and clothing and blankets and all sorts of materials to help them, because these military families give so much to us, we give back to them. And first responder programs. These are meant to honor those who keep our communities safe, and having banquets, having things that you give to them, giving them appreciation. Some people and some lodges go and they deliver pizzas and other food to them as a thank you to those working night shift and long hours. And that there's so many different ways that Freemasonry, depending on the lodge, the area in Pennsylvania, tries to honor our first responders. In blood and organ donor programs, they help to increase organ donors who are officially registered, host community blood drives, and they promote the value of donating blood. And that donating blood helps so many people, whether it's whole blood or platelets. You're giving something that helps keep people alive, and especially during these times in the pandemic where people are in need, hospitals are overrun. Having programs to help donate blood, to help keep these people alive is so important to give back. And then for members, they have financial, legal, home assistance programs that are meant to help those in need who are here. And I don't know how far these extend. I'm not as familiar with these programs in their entirety, but they're something that's special. The Right Worshipful Grand Master is actually looking at the Widows Guild and helping those who have lost that Mason, making sure we keep them in mind and take care of them. And that I know of one lodge in particular that for Christmas we'll give them poinsettia cards and let them know that they're not forgotten, that we still remember them, and we still want to let them know that if they need anything, we're here. And there's also dementia support and education programs. And then with the Masonic symbolism of music, this one was by Thomas Smith Webb, this quote, and he's talking about music. Music teaches the art of forming concords so as to compose delightful harmony, but a mathematical and proportional arrangement of acute, grave, and mixed sounds. This art, being by a series of experiments, is reduced to a demonstrative science with respect to tones and the intervals of sound. It inquires into the nature of concords and discords and enables us to find out the proportion between them by numbers. And that definition, it fits, but I don't know if it fully encompasses Masonic music. And music is one of the 7 liberal arts. It's very important. It's vital to our education. It's something that when it's taken away from schools, when it's taken away from communities, It hurts the kids. It hurts communities to not have these arts and to not experience have a good experience in different ways that they can expand their minds, expand their knowledge, expand their intelligence so that they can grow up and be better people in the communities, building better communities. And harmony is only one piece of Masonic expression. There's melody, there's tonal sequences, and music really has so much more than just harmony. It's scales, there's rest, periods of complete silence, and music theory, which that wheel was really a part of. That's a music theory tool. It's a way of learning music, but it's something that gets very technical. So you can have lectures and lectures on that wheel and understand music deeply, but that's only one part of your musical education. There's also two different types of music from John Cage, and one is chance music, where it's partially prepared with some people playing something, other people playing another. So it's almost like we're in Philly, you see some guy playing a horn or guitar or drums, and then someone else just jumps in and starts playing. And they're playing two different things, but they're kind of playing together, and then they bring it together. That's really what that is more. And indeterminate music, which was what we had here before the Zoom opened, was sounds at a particular time and place. I'm talking with people, we're getting things set up, there's rustling around, there's phone calls. We even had a ringer with a cat meowing. So there's a lot of different things that happened here that was musical, but was not really organized in any way. It was just here in this moment, the door opening up, people coming in. And it was great to see so many people here and create indeterminate music. And then the music of spheres. And this is an ancient theory that's been proven true that has excited musicologists and people around the world. And there's that circle again for music theory. And I bring that up because even though we look at it as just a two-dimensional circle on a piece of paper or on a screen, same way we look at the organization of the solar system, it's so much more complex. It's changing, it's swirling, it's moving, and it's not just this big ring with discs going around it. It goes deeper, it dives deeper. And with music, in modes, it's the same thing. You take one tone and you can bring it down so deep that you can spend hours and hours just studying that depth. Same thing with the universe. You look at the Earth and its orbit and all these other things, you can drag that deeper, and then that will also be a very long hours and hours and hours of research and study. And then the music of spheres is really something that we will never fully understand, but we understand it exists. And that this theory is that everything in the universe vibrates, it makes it sound, it makes a tone, it creates music. And these frequencies all come together and create a great symphony of everything that exists for the great architect of the universe, for whoever the deity is, that all of this comes together to create one great symphony. And we have proven this. And actually, I believe Mickey Hart with the Grateful Dead and the Dead, when they did a tour, they did a drum solo to the sounds of the universe and how things were moving around to actually understand this is something that has a consistent beat and playing to the universe. It's incredible. And we can even identify objects that are millions of miles away by hearing it. We may not see it, but we can hear it. And then going even deeper, we've just been able to see images of Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And this is what forms really our universe. Our solar system follows the Milky Way. The Milky Way follows around the supermassive black hole. Everything's moving around. And there's so many different galaxies that it's all swirling, that we're in one of these little bands just wisping out of the spiral of the Milky Way galaxy. And then all this coming together creates music, creates vibration, creates sound that then creates the universe. And then looking at music in Freemasonry, I look at it as a little bit different. Music is a living, movable science based on emotive, creative, artistic expression by using sound or the absence thereof. Music mathematically and geometrically organizes the space-time around it. As Masons, it teaches us that we are to keep within due bounds and in how we conduct ourselves in life. Through the sounds or silences we make, we are to act as living, moving stones in that house not made with hands and improve the space-time around us. And that what we do matters and helps those who we are here. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.